Good evening, and welcome to Elk Grove Township. This is our board meeting specifically for strategic planning. I appreciate all of you coming out this evening. Please join us. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll of the board?
Trustee Duke?
Present.
Trustee Bujai?
Present.
Supervisor Scaletta?
Here.
Trustee Stanyek? Present. Trustee Weincoop?
Present.
Assessor Caraselli?
Present.
And I'm Clerk Saturn.
Thank you. We're also joined by Luann Pross she is the Director of Adult and Family Counseling. We're joined by Isabella Manzo, who is the Administrator for the Township. We're joined by Corey Dewey, the Director of Social Services. We're joined by Mandy Stevenson, who's in charge of Communications for the Township, as well as Renee Dorn, the Director of Youth Services. At this time, we are going to start public comments. At the last Township Board meeting, the board agreed that we would limit public comment to 20 minutes, as this is a workshop for the Township Board and staff to develop a strategic plan. And we have 10 people registered for public comment, which will give everyone 20 minutes to speak. 2 minutes to speak. God, that would be a long time. 2 minutes to speak, and what's going to happen is that when you get to a minute and a half, after you've spoken for a minute and a half, Mandy is going to raise a card, and that means that you have 30 seconds remaining. When your 2 minutes is up, she'll raise the card again, and we will close your public comment at that time. Everyone understand? Fantastic. And so what you're going to do is you're going to come up to the podium and you're going to speak and address the board on issues that are of concern to you. All right, so some people signed their names, so I'm going to do my very best to read their names. The first resident up is Daniel Namowitz. And you can correct me when you get up here with the correct pronunciation of your name. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Daniel Namowitz. I just wanted to say for the strategic session, just a comment. Just want to say that having too many goals to try to accomplish in a year, while people, is going to take a lot of taxes. And having, people now struggling with paying for higher taxes and property taxes, higher electrical bills, it's squeezing people on both ends. Now we're just hearing that Governor Pritzker is most likely going to raise taxes for something else. That's going to be another squeeze. So please, I know we're, trying to do stuff for the community, but, keep the pet projects down and just have the important stuff, for the plan. Also, in the last meeting, I think it was Trustee Weincoop that said, it would be a good idea to put an $11,000 receipt into the time capsule, and it's not really a flex, It's not really anything to be proud of, that 700 to 1,000 families in Elk Grove Township need that help, and it's not really. I don't think it's a good flex for now or the next generations to see. Maybe consider something else to put in a time capsule, and then last month, one of the residents also said in public comment that you should make some kind of a comment regarding immigration and custom enforcement, and how exactly would the township enforce that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mike Dill, and on deck is Bill Christian. Mike Dill is foregoing his public comment, so next up is Bill Christian. Bill?
Hi, I'm Bill Christian. I just want to make a comment about the fact that in many years, the township has yet to raise taxes, but even though they did not raise taxes over the last several years, they increased the services that are provided by the township. So if they're able to give more for the same amount of money, it's a wonderful way of working. So taxes may not be increased. We should look for other places we can cut funding for certain programs and increase other programs. But as the last person said, Dan, all the costs are going up, especially in Cook County area. The tollways have gone up, everything's gone up. It's harder and more expensive to live and work within this community. The township has been great, holding up the line and not raising taxes and providing more services. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Kathy Christian. All right.
She didn't know what she was signing.
Next up is Kathleen Marita.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kathleen Marita, and my whole concern is that we had trustees that have been on the job that during the 4 years of the last administration when our economy was just tanked, they increased the services that were needed. Wasn't an agenda, but was actually needed, and they stayed within the budget. I mean, I came to a meeting and you guys wanted to do a flagpole and a flag that represents like hardly anybody in our community, and it scares me. I'm on a fixed income. I don't want to be paying more, and even more importantly than paying more, I don't want needless services that our community doesn't really need. At least the last trustees knew the town, knew what was happening, increased what we needed. I mean, an extra counselor or whatever, and just other services. With the 4 new, you guys could be amazing. I really don't know. But I never even heard why you guys even wanted to run. And then to see that you all ran and you all won, it just, I don't know what to make of that. Like I said, I hope you're amazing. I hope you do the job that our 4 amazing trustees did prior, but I'm a little scared. So I hope you don't politicize things, but really decide to work within what our community actually needs. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Next up is Julie Mortensen. Julie?
Okay, I want to make sure everybody hears me because I'm a hearing impaired person. I'm Julie Mortensen. I've been a resident of Elk Grove Village for 52 years. Last month at the board meeting, Beth Dukes got up and asked about putting signs up in the parking lot of the township to make sure that ICE agents were not allowed in the township parking lot. Is anybody working on that? Will we be working on that? I am sure that we have a lot of Latinos in the area that are coming to our food pantry, or even just anybody to feel safe. Is that something that we're working on? And we want to make sure that everyone that comes to the township for assistance and help feels safe.
Thank you, Julie. Next up is George Bussey. George? And on deck is Jim Whitbold.
You didn't use the 20 minutes, so I got 10.
Still have the remaining 2 minutes.
I can't say things.
All right, well, do your very best.
Okay. I just wanted to say a few words because we went through this process about 15 years ago. And when we did it, it wasn't as formal because we did it informally. But the first time we went through, we thought we put together a great document, but about 2 years later, we realized that we had missed a couple things and that in hindsight, we needed to come back. And those three things are, one, is that the focus is usually on new programs, new things you need, new holes that we need to fill. But as demographics change, economic environment changes, just the culture even changes, then there are things that no longer are needed. There are programs that need to be either eliminated or changed or reduced. And then those resources can be reallocated for those programs that are needed. And so you need to keep in mind and look at also what is no longer needed, what can be adjusted and moved. We did that with the highway department. And that was something when we went back and looked, it became very clear to us that we had a highway department that really wasn't needed anymore, at least not in the format that we were doing it. Second thing I think that's important is that we didn't keep in mind the taxpayer like we should have. What I mean by that is that a lot of times we focus on our clients, which is the most important. We're here to provide that safety net, that last area, that last place that people can go when they have nowhere else to go. And that's a primary responsibility of the township. However, the taxpayer is also a responsibility of you as well, too. And that individual is under more and more pressure from a property tax point of view. When I saw individuals coming through the assessor's office and women on fixed income concerned and all distraught that they may be kicked out of their homes, we need to be aware that that is a stakeholder in this whole process, too. Then finally, mission creep. We found that we were moving into areas that we really shouldn't be moving into, broadening our exposure and our involvement to a degree that was taking away resources and taking away time and staff ability from the core responsibilities we have. That this is not an organization that's going to solve all the problems of the world. This is not an organization which should take over the responsibilities of other agencies and so forth. And this is an organization that shouldn't be politicized or march into other areas. So I think we need to stay focused and stay on mission, on track.
Thank you, George. You should be very proud of yourself.
I still went over it.
I know. Next up is Jim Whitbold. On deck is Connie Whitbold.
Well, let me make that clear. I signed her up. She goes, I'm not speaking. I didn't know that it was just in case you wanted to talk. And actually, had I planned on speaking, I would have had something formally written. But I'll tell you this, a lot of what was said by the previous people is how I feel. Probably the last meeting that I went to was when the new trustees were here and the past trustees were basically going over, giving a report card of what was going on and all the rest. But I'll tell you this, I know you guys ran as you wanted a seat at the table. That's great. But please remember that, and I told this to Laura Murphy at her town hall the other day. I said, you represent all of the people. It's not just one side. You can identify as a Democrat, but you need to consider what everyone else is possibly thinking and not realize that, oh, we just got to jam this through because this is part of our agenda. Now, I don't know what your agenda is, and actually, I'm going to throw out a challenge to you guys because I'm ignorant. The first time that I went to an event about the trustees and getting elected, I was blown away by the past group that I couldn't believe all what they had accomplished. I think Kat had mentioned this before. And I was just like, I was really proud that we are taking care of a lot of the people that we need to. But I would love for all of us to somehow get a feel for what everybody is interested in our township. Is there a way of doing a survey and saying, is this the top concern? Give a list of items and then go down and say, this is my first, this is my second, this is my third. They don't have to fill the whole thing out, But I think that would be great. I wish that would happen in our big government. But anyhow, that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next up is Claude Calasini. I hope I'm saying that right. You're going to be quiet. Okay.
Decline.
So that closes public comment. Since the board entered into an agreement with Northern Illinois University's Center for Governmental Studies, NIU staff has worked closely with board members and key township staff to thoughtfully prepare for the strategic planning workshop. This collaboration has been focused on gathering input, engaging participants, and laying the groundwork for meaningful discussions at this stage of the process. NIU's Center of Governmental Studies, founded in 1969, is a public service, applied research, and public policy development organization that recently celebrated 54 years of public service. Its mission is to provide expertise that help decision makers implement efficient, sustainable, and cost-effective approaches to economic, social, governance, public policy, and information management issues. I am grateful to the board for agreeing for us to hire NIU to lead this workshop. Participation in this workshop is limited to board members and key staff at this dais. Thank you to all who have contributed through the preparatory exercises and provided public comments leading up to this session. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to the NIU staff. Greg?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Kuhn. I'm director of NIU Center for Governmental Studies, and thank you for that nice introduction and a little bit of review of what we do. And I'm joined tonight by my colleague, Dawn Wookie-Rosbeck. We both come from local government experience as administrators and staff members, et cetera. For myself, I've been at this, almost 45 years. And I love this arena. I teach this material. We do work in this area all the time. Our whole team at the center, we're in a unit of government every day, someone from our center. On strategic planning, a couple of things. I want to give everybody a little bit of a background, but initially I'll just say that it is strategic planning that kind of weaned me away from being an administrator and into this work. Because we did it, I was manager in another part of DuPage County, Little Clarendon Hills down in the southeast corner. In the 1980s, we did our very first strategic plan, and it made such a difference. I decided after a few years, I thought I'd go back to school and I'd make this part of my life's work. Dawn is I'm a graduate of NIU, both my master's and PhD, and Dawn is a graduate as well. And Dawn has experience in the field, too, large and small communities, county level, et cetera. So I just want everyone to know, we know what local government is about, and I'll just say after I left being manager, I was on our local plan commission for 28 years. So I've had my fair share of opportunity to kind of be a part of helping make the community better. So let's talk about strategic planning for a minute. Strategic planning is basically leadership's expression of the future. When I teach this material, either in class or in a seminar, I try to start with that thought because that's what it all boils down to. And the comment was made earlier that it was done a few years ago and it may have been a little less formal, but many of you might have participated in strategic planning before. You may have been in a more formal process. You may have done something informal. But strategic planning is asking leaders to say, what is the future we want to go to? Where do we want to head? What do we want to achieve? And then the other thing is, how might we want to get there? And also, what's standing between here and those goals? So that's what the whole exercise is about this evening. The slide you have up here, there's one of my favorite quotes. Some of you might recognize the name, Lewis Carroll. Anyone? What did Lewis Carroll write that we probably all familiar with? Alice in Wonderland, exactly. I love this quote. If you don't know where you're going, I'm going to paraphrase if I can. If you don't know where you're going, any place will do. You think about that. We all have, we take actions and we're engaged in activities all day, every day. Sometimes we plan a trip and by gosh, we know where we're going to go. It might be the Jewel, it might be downtown, it might be to Wisconsin, it might be to Wyoming, it might be to Europe, it might be somewhere. But if you think about it, or it can be a day sometimes where you're just kind of, well, I'm going to get up and we'll see what the day brings. But when you're working in an environment of scarce resources, which is what government at all levels confronts, it's better to have an idea, where do we want to go? Where do we want to put those resources? Because it's all about choices, right? So the board members that are here this evening, the prior board members, the board members that will come after, that's what all of us as citizens ask them to do, is we are going to ask you to decide on behalf of all of us, where do we want to go? You know, what are the things it's going to take to get there? And yes, we're going to have to make an adjustment here and there along the way because the world never seems to stand still. So the whole exercise tonight is a series of conversational, I'm going to reuse a word, I try not to do that, but I am. We're going to engage in a series of exercises that helps shape that designed conversation. We're going to start big picture, and then as the evening goes on, we're going to get narrower and narrower. So I also want to point out something. I see someone already at the board. There are some flip chart sheets up on the wall, and underneath there are 4 sheets a little bit to the left of the wall. They're under a label that says SWOC analysis. Some of you might, so SWOC stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Challenges. When that concept was first developed, it was SWOT, S-W-O-T, Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats, but the word challenges has kind of substituted the word threat. It's simply, it's a diagnostic tool, and we're going to do it later, and we're going to invite you, anyone who's here tonight, grab a pen, and you think about the township as a government, or as a community, or as a service organization. What are some of their strengths? What are some of the weaknesses? What are opportunities that might be out there? And what are some of the challenges? And if you don't mind, we'd love to ask you to add those. And when we do focus group work, we ask these questions of focus group. So you get to kind of be a live, in action focus group. Now, on the right side of the wall, there's another couple of sheets. And if these sheets fill up, we'll put more up there. So don't worry about getting to the bottom.
Actually, there's duplicate sheets behind there.
Oh, good.
So just lift up the sheet on top, go to the next sheet down. There's 4 of them under each sheet.
Say plan ahead, right?
Thank you, Izzy.
On the right, there's a set of sheets also underneath a label that says goals, ideas, and suggestions. So if you would like to offer to the board some ideas you have for goals, please add them up there. And when we get to those parts of the exercises this evening, we'll have those thoughts up there, and then we're going to share them with the board, and the board will have the benefit of seeing them. And this is a process we use when we do focus groups, pre-workshop and that kind of thing. So we want you to, if you would like, add your thoughts up there, and it'll be considered into the rest of the discussions as we go. So I'm going to pause just for a second and ask Dawn if there's anything else that you would like to mention or cover.
If you're looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges, the strengths and weaknesses are kind of more internal, talking about things like processes or programs. Opportunities and challenges are more things external. So when you're thinking about, oh, I wish we would have done this a little differently, or I don't know how we're going to get this accomplished. This is more of a challenge, like communication in all sorts of places, different levels. You know, you have your newsletters, your e-newsletters. You also have, you know, comments received at board meetings and things like that. Those are types of things where it could also be a strength and it could be an opportunity. So don't feel bad if you put a couple of things on 2 different sets of sheets. It's normal, it happens, and those are taken into consideration as well.
Yep, absolutely right. In fact, it is possible, when we get to this exercise later, it is possible for something to show up on all 4 columns. So, quickly, I'm going to, because guess what? After Dawn and I do this introduction, you're going to hear a lot less of us and a lot more of these people, because that's the whole point, is to have your ideas. But we want to set the groundwork. What you're seeing up on the screen right now is a diagram of the strategic planning process. And I know where you sit there, you know, you kind of see a little bit of a circle, you see different colors and things. But the basic process is this. We ask leaders in any group, this private sector, public sector, scan the environment. What's going on in the world around you? What's going on in your organization? What's going on in the people that you serve? Your stakeholders, your constituents, et cetera, and even beyond that. So scanning the environment, having conversations about that, and it's a shared communication and recognition step. From there, we take that information, and that is used to start to develop goals. And we kind of have an exercise that kind of bridges those 2 dimensions, a little bit of scanning, a little bit of goal development, and then goals are developed. And we're going to ask the board, we use a technique not developed by me, by one of my mentors, Professor Jerry Gabris, who's been retired now 6 or 7 years. Jerry, a good friend of mine, he helped me in my studies. In fact, when I was in Clarendon Hills, Jerry was brand new to the university, and Jerry helped us do our very first plan in Clarendon Hills. Whoa, I got to think, that was about 1988 or something like that. We developed goals, and we used a technique. We asked the members to develop goals on 4 dimensions. Sorry, not 2 dimensions, 4 different boxes or quadrants of a matrix. The first dimension is time, right? Do you want to see this accomplished short term? And in government life, we kind of say short term is kind of 1 to 3 years. You may not think it, but in government life, that's pretty fast. Because if it's not in this year's budget, it needs to be in next year's budget by the time you act on it. And then long term is 3 to 8, or 3 to, sometimes things are ongoing, et cetera. So we ask a time dimension. It helps. Again, back to the scarce resources, it starts to help to determine, well, where are we going to put resources now? And what do we want to think about doing in the future? What do we have to get to? And then the other dimension is complexity. And this is just a recognition that not everything in the world is easy to do. Some goals you want to work on are pretty darn difficult or complex. Lots of layers, other units of government, private partners, whatever it might be. And other goals, again, I'm going to quote my good friend, Professor Gabris, we label as routine. And you're going to hear me say this again, but for the benefit of everyone here, routine does not mean easy. Okay, in common conversation, we use routine and we kind of say, oh, well, that was pretty routine. That must be pretty easy. We use it in a different way. Routine means it's something you could probably do with most of your own talent and resources. You might need a little bit extra, you might need a little bit of help, but it's something you might be able to do most of it internally. So those are the 2 dimensions and the 4 quadrants of the matrix. We'll get to that later. So let me just review the agenda, and then pretty soon you're going to be able to talk, and Dawn and I are going to start taking notes. So here's where we are this evening. We had the call to order. We had public comment. We invited anyone, anytime, and you can leave your comments there, and if you can't hang around this evening, you're welcome to leave your thoughts there, and they'll be here. Then we're going to go to some introductions and a visioning exercise. We're going to start with the board members up here first. We had a chance to spend some time, and we have done some pre-work, but we want everyone to introduce yourselves, and we're going to ask you a visioning question. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Then we'll start our environmental scan exercise. We're going to do that in kind of small groups, and we're going to give these small groups 5 open-ended questions. They're going to work on them together. They'll come back. They'll report them out. And then we'll move into this SWOC analysis. That'll be a large group exercise. Dawn and I will be writing your input and ideas as quickly as we can as you go through it. And then from there, we're going to move into goals. And we'll go back into small groups, and we're going to ask each group to develop some goals. And we did some pre-work on putting you in groups, because tonight we're trying to use our time as best as we can and not stretch out until the early hours of the morning. So to make sure we had a balance of staff and elected officials, we kind of did that. So we'll go through that when the time comes. And then lastly, after when we get to the end of the goals, the groups will report out again. We'll see what each group came up with, and then we have some work to do after the workshop tonight. We'll do some consolidation. We'll do a little bit of cleaning up, not rewriting, but we'll clean up some of the goals. And then we'll develop a list, and then we have a prioritization exercise we ask the elected officials to do. And then we'll be back once there's a priority list developed. We use a simple ranking system and weighted average, not weighted average, straight average. And then we'll help work with staff to do a little action planning launch. So that's the whole process from beginning to end. But this evening, we're going to go all the way through goal development, and then you see the other in red. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
These papers back here are just they institute stuff, or are we allowed to?
Oh, no, these are for you.
Well, I wasn't sure.
No, absolutely. Good question. These are for you. They're going to do theirs separately, but
Can we go up there while they're...
anytime. Once we get going, you can wander around, grab a marker, go for it. Yeah, no, good question. Thank you. All right. So can I invite, and we will be taking breaks as we go. I want the board and everyone to know this is not an endurance contest. And if Mother Nature calls and you need to step out, that's fine, but we'll be taking some breaks between exercises. So, any other questions? Oh, yeah, the question is, about adding your comments and things to the boards. You'll have up until the time we get to those exercises, and then we'll take that input. So the SWOC analysis will be first, and then when we get to goals, that'll be a little bit later. So I would say once we get to the exercise, we'll take what we have up to that point. All right? All right, so I'll ask the board. We'll do the board first, and then staff, I think for the benefit of everybody here, if you wouldn't mind doing a little bit of exercise. And I'll just remind staff, when we ask about this question as part of the introductions on the future, your future vision, we want to ask you to share the benefit of your experience and your professional training, et cetera. What do you see as the future of your function or the services that you work on most directly? Now, for Izzy, she's a generalist, general administration, kind of like, it's up to you to what you're going to share, but I want to make sure we have that benefit of that experience here. So, but we'll start with the board first, and I'm going to ask the supervisor if we could have you go last. Is that okay? Sure. All right. So, and this is a dangerous place to be. I'm going to be implied for a second, Jason, but when I teach, this is not a good place to sit because I'm right-handed and I tend to do this.
Your class is over there.
Oh, yeah. So over here. Well, start over here. Anyway, so here's the exercise. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, sure. Name, how long you've been involved on the board here. If you've had any other government experience, nonprofit, civic experience of any kind, we'd be interested to know that. And then the fundamental question is this. This is and I have to thank Professor Gabris again. Jerry used this question for us in Clarendon Hills way back in 1988. And we've used it every retreat. If you left the community today, if you left Elk Grove Township today, and you didn't come back for 5, 10, maybe even 15 years, you won the lottery and you're going to travel the world or whatever you're going to do. When you come back, what do you think you would see regarding the township or the township services or the township organization? So what do you think you would see, or what do you hope you would see? And we like to ask our participants, you can take a swipe at either one of those or both. They're more than welcome. I would just say, let's limit it to 3 thoughts as we get started here. But I call it the Walt Disney question, because we're asking you to use your imagination. What do you think or hope you would see when you come back 5, 10, or 15 years? So, Jason, do you mind introducing yourself and starting that question?
Sure, thank you. My name is Jason Weinkoop, and I am a new trustee on the board, so from last April till today. I'm a nonprofit leader, so I've been a nonprofit executive for about 15 years and a nonprofit worker before that. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I currently am the Chief Program Officer at the Chicago Children's Advocacy Center and have been in that role for 5 years. I also I serve on a foundation board and some other work in the community as well. Longtime volunteer for youth athletics and other things. I would say that one of my hopes is that the township continues to be responsive to the evolving needs of the residents of the township. One of the things I wrote down on my notes before coming tonight was that we have a broader array of resources available and accessible to vulnerable residents and those at risk of falling through gaps. And then the other thing that I think is a hope is that we are able to work with our village and county partners to create a village, township, and county framework that is a model of effective government and delivers good taxpayer value. And what I mean by that is making sure that we're doing an ongoing review, as one of the public commenters mentioned, about are the services that we're offered attuned to the community's need now? Are we, can we let go of some legacy services, introduce some new ones? And then where do we complement villages as opposed to having duplication of services? How are we working together to eliminate gaps? So really, I think that's a space that we can all lean into and do better on. So if I came back in 5 or 10 years, having not been here, I would love to see the assessment rate either the same or go down, services continue to be expanded in some meaningful way, and for us to have a framework with our village and county partners that makes sense.
Good, good. Great way to kick it off, and those are all good thoughts, and hopefully the rest of you, when you think about it, that's what we're aiming for. So good to meet you, Jason, and thank you. All right, Connie.
I'm Connie Caraselli. I'm the assessor of Elk Grove Township. I've had the pleasure of listening to unhappy taxpayers for 36 years. Pardon? We always like to think that if they're not happy when they leave our office, they at least understand the process. I've been president of the Cook County Township Assessors Association. I've been on their board of directors for over 25 years. I've also been active in the community in various capacities. Was a residential real estate specialist for 40 years. I have given that up. It's time. But I'm very proud of the work that my office does. And you made a very salient comment about scarce resources. And that is one thing that I think we've always prided ourselves in my office. We do an awful lot on very, very little. And the one thing that I would hope is that with the expansion of technology and our ability to communicate, that we would be able, and this is part of our vision and our mission statement, that we educate the taxpayer. So if I came back here in 10 years, God, I'd love that. I'd only be 90. Everybody would love that. I'd like to see an informed citizenry, because if we do not have an informed citizenry, we do not have democracy. So that's what I'd like to see.
Good. Good. Excellent. And I liked your comments about in the assessor's business. Yeah, I know people usually don't wander in your office just because, right? But if they leave, in fact, you might come to my local government class. I might call you and say, can you explain? Because one of their homework assignments is they have to dissect the property tax bills.
Well, from that standpoint, one of our continuing goals in the assessor's office is education. And to that goal in February, and people will get notification of this. I'm joining with 3 other township assessors, and we're doing an educational program on, why are my taxes so high and what can I do about it?
Okay.
So, yes, to me, education of the taxpayer and the voter is absolutely critical.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to pass over staff for a second, so I think next is Monica.
I am. Good evening, everyone. My name is Monica Steinyak, and the newest trustee appointed or came in April. My day job is I am a street outreach program manager for a nonprofit in Mount Prospect called Northwest Compass. I work daily with veterans, domestic violence survivors, community that is facing homelessness. I am also a founder of a community organization called Friends on the Streets that serves pretty much the same type of a community, which is people facing homelessness and struggling to pay bills. I also work for State Representative Mary Beth Canty. If I come back, or when I come back, 5-10 years from now, I call it, what if I would have a magic wand? I love what Connie said, that educating the public, it is a big goal. I would love to come back and not find one resident that does not know what the township offers. Because we do have wonderful services, that's one thing, but knowing that residents know about it, knowing that residents can access those services, needs to align with what we are offering here. One of the things that I wrote down during the wonderful interviews that we had prior to this was we need to have an inclusive leadership that thinks outside of the box and goes beyond standards that we already have. I would love to see a township that shows how inclusive we are. To prior comments, about a flag post and saying that those are not the residents that we serve. Those are the residents we serve. Again, as someone who works in a social field with veterans, people with disability, there's no difference. We need to make sure that the services that we offer in a township are the services that are inclusive for all the residents across the board.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And you have an interesting perspective, all the things you're involved in. So we have those thoughts added in. Corey, we're going to pass over you. Phil.
So my name is Philip Dukes. I've been a trustee for the past year. Before that, I was involved on several different campaigns, primarily in the area of field organizing, but also finance and communications in various campaigns around the country. I also am a member of the Navy Reserves, and that is something that I really enjoy, something that's very special to me, and something that is kind of a tradition in my family. And most recently, I'm a carpenter in the local 1027, and as a CFL delegate, that's Chicago Federation of Labor, we're required to collaborate with other unions and other areas of labor in the Chicago area and see what issues are affecting the working class folks all over the Chicago area and how can we support each other throughout that. So what would I like to see in this township, or what would I hope to see? Going off, actually, what I have written down is kind of piggybacking off of what others have said, but I would really like to see a heightened collaboration with the county and the villages, because a lot of the services that we offer, such as social services, the county and the villages offer social services as well in various capacities. So identifying areas of where there are gaps, but also perhaps areas of where there are overlap. That's our responsibility to really communicate and sit down with elected officials in the county and village and make sure that not only are all the needs met, but also a resident who might not know everything about government, if they do have an issue, which level of government do they go to? Do they go, if our neighbor has an issue, do they go to the county with that issue? Do they go to the village or the township with that issue? That's something that's only going to come with more communication at the different levels of government. But also being, to piggyback off what Mr. Bussey said, being extremely attentive to what our constituents are saying. It's really good that we've had a lot of input here today and that we've had input throughout the meetings. We are serving, our clients, we are serving people who are coming here for help. And that's extremely important, but we also have to prioritize constituent input because this is a taxpayer-funded operation, and if the constituents are unhappy or disapproving of a certain program, or if they want to see an additional program, it is their money, and we must prioritize their input. And that's something that that's a tradition that I hope we continue doing in the long term.
Good. Great. Well, we have some things building on each other a little bit, and again, new ideas and perspectives. So, thank you, Phil. All right.
Great. My name is Rob Lujai, and I am a social studies teacher out of Naperville, Illinois. Been a high school history teacher for the past 10 years. Recently, the Daughters of the American Revolution Social Studies Teacher of the Year. I also am involved in a number of local nonprofits. Before my teaching career, I was a professional scouter in the northwest suburbs, servicing a number of youth and families, as well as the director of Camp Napawan, Boy Scout camp where a number of our youth in this area used to visit. I've been an elected official since April overall. When I come back in 5-10 years and we're knocking on doors, one of the things that I would really love to see is when people open those doors, they know what the township does. The most frequent question that we got when we were knocking on doors, educating people is, what's a township? I'd love to continue educating our constituents, our residents, and the people that are living here on what the township does, the amazing things that we have here. Abraham Lincoln once said, the dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. With so much changing in our current lives and our country, our nation, and our township, we have to continue to get the word out to the people that not only we service, but also those that don't know what we do. I really believe that government can be a source of good where people come together. So education has been a common thing that we've seen here, and that's something I think we all want to continue to do. How can we inform more and more people? Another aspect that I like to focus on is all the stages of life of a person living in our township, from youth, adult, employment services, veteran services, increasing both of those in particular, as well as continuing an outreach of senior services. If people don't know the things we offer, they can't participate in that, while also being financially responsible for that sacred trust that people have in us of using our money to help other people overall.
Good. Excellent. Well, you have, yes.
Please.
In case, if we receive duplicates of something, you're going to notice I'm marking a check up there for you. That means that it's a consistent vote. It just shows, and it'll be marked such in there that there's duplicate requests. So you see me putting a check on there and not rewriting something, that's the reason why.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Dawn. I was just going to comment, so your background is interesting, and as an educator too, and in a field not too far flung from what I've, and Dawn and I have spent our time in doing, so another good perspective, et cetera, and appreciate it very much. All right, Luann, we're going to pass over you. I'm going to ask the clerk.
Okay, I think my mic is working now. My name is Sue Ellen Saturn. I was a trustee here for 3 terms, and then I've just finished my first term as clerk. So I worked in School District 59 for almost 25 years, which actually turned out to be a great way to get to know the community and the needs of the community by getting to know the families and the kids. what I hope to see and think I will see if things continue well as they are going is three things. The first one is I'm always amazed when I come here and I see the programs we're doing. Our employees are so creative, thinking out of the box, working together, crossing their departments, seem to like each other. You know, it's just very positive. Some examples during COVID, you know, we took our truck, we took our bus and took people food when they couldn't come here. Started refrigerated food lockers now for people who work but still need help and can't come during our hours. So just so many examples of that. So that would be awesome if we ended up with the same thing in 5 to 10 years. The other thing is pivoting as the community needs change. And I can see we've done that a lot with the food pantry, like the dental van that we have here. You know, that was not a need years ago. That's definitely a need. A lot of our immigrants come in and really need that help, or low-income people need that help. Just so many of the programs that we have, different people need. I'm on the Mental Health and Wellness Committee, and we just finished coming up with our grant money to be put into the budget. And it's very rewarding just to see all the different agencies that our township works with to help fill a need that we can't do all those things. We can't be specific and an expert in everything. So I'd love to see us continuing to be flexible as the needs of the community change. And then the third thing is that we continue to do all these wonderful things and keep our taxes low. So maybe some other forms of government might look at us and get some ideas about keeping their taxes low. But anyway, those are my three.
Good, good. Excellent. Well, you have an interesting perspective too. So as a board member and now as the clerk and your other work. So thank you.
Don't usually get to talk anymore. So
it worked out just how we planned it, didn't it? Thank you. All right, Supervisor Scarletta.
Scaletta. All right. So my name is John Scaletta. I'm the Township Supervisor. I've been a management consultant for over 30 years. I have been a community and business leader for the past 25 years. I served as a village trustee for the Village of Arlington Heights for 16 years, and been the Township Supervisor for the past 8 months, which was very humbling and a great opportunity to continue to give back to the community. We are responsive to our most vulnerable residents, and I want to look at new opportunities, but picking up off of one of the prior comments during public speaking, we would need to find other areas to reduce the services in order to be able to provide more services. I honestly cannot think of any service that this township provides that is not needed by the community. And so that's going to be a challenge. Over the next, 5 to 10 years, I hope that in the future to see a capital improvement program for the township, which will only make the foundation of the township stronger. I agree that we need to identify ways to connect with residents, to educate them about the services that we provide, and not only from a standpoint of the value of the township, but also to provide those services and to educate them prior to them needing those services. Recently attended I'll call it a seminar or a presentation that had to do with affordable housing. And what's interesting is that there's such a long list of people that are on the affordable housing wait list that seniors need to be thinking about, and even people that aren't seniors yet, they need to be thinking about the future, and they may want to put their name on that wait list prior to the need. And so if you find yourself digging into your savings to be able to pay your real estate taxes, that's the time to start thinking about whether or not you should be on that list. And I think that that's really important, and I think that that's something that the township, and as we're educating the residents on the services that are provided by the township, we need to start, getting people to think about this before they have that need, because sometimes, we all procrastinate, we just do, But if you wait too long, you might find yourself in a more difficult position where you're on a wait list when if you would have signed up maybe a couple years earlier, your name would have been called. Just because you're on a wait list, and you're from the northwest suburbs, doesn't automatically mean that the first opportunity that you're going to receive will be in the northwest suburbs. It could be in the north suburbs. It could be in the city. It could be in the south suburbs. It's anywhere in Cook County. So make sure that you understand that while, the idea for affordable housing is so that people can remain in the town that they lived, that's not exactly how it works. It's the goal, but it doesn't exactly work that way. And so we need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to educate people, and we need to do that by working with our social service partners, with all of the other taxing bodies. And so I think that that's really important for us to do, is to get out there and educate people, and also make sure that they're aware we're 1% of your tax bill, and there's so much that's provided by the township. Aside from the social services that are provided by the township, you also have the taxpayer advocacy. And I think that that's really what we need to do as a township, as a, not only a board, but as a staff, is find opportunities. Everyone, I will tell you though, everybody gets that newsletter, and I have people that, people that know me that'll text me about it, but people that I see like at the grocery store and they're kind of staring at me, and then all of a sudden they realize I remember seeing your picture, that will then approach me about the township newsletter. So people are reading it. We just have to find a better way to get out to, to other places to make sure that we're getting the word out there.
Okay, good. Thank you, John. And sorry for adding the R. It was a Freudian slip.
Right, it happens all the time. I'm not offended.
Okay. All right. So let's ask the staff for their visions. And same thing, I'm going to go to my right. So Renee, you had a little bit of a warning there, but we'll go across. But Izzy, I'm going to have you go last, okay? All right, so
my name is Renee Dorn. I'm the director of the Youth Services Department. Been with the township almost 30 years. And if I left and came back, my hope would be that we're still bringing up the township, whether we're at schools, whether we're in the community, making that awareness happen, because I think we're the best kept secret in town. And also, my hope would be awareness. So continuing to empower residents through all the services that the township has. Specifically for youth services, I hope that we're continuing to empower them to be successful as they become young adults, and doing so by teaching them life skills, things such as managing emotions, communication skills, and not just texting each other, but actually, looking at someone and starting a conversation, those life skills that are going to make them successful into adulthood. The last thing I would hope for is, and we do such a great job of this now, is continue to take a pulse of the community and see what's working and what we need to change, and then pivot based on that, whether it's programming, programs that we run or other departments and services that they provide. But finding out the continuing need and changes of the community and making adjustments based on that.
good, excellent. That's the kind of insight and perspective we need, so thank you, Renee. Mandy.
All right. I'm Mandy Stevenson. I'm the Communications and Outreach Manager for the Township. I've been with the Township about 4 years now, and my background is in various nonprofits with development and marketing. I actually had written down something for what I would like to see in 5 years, is that Elk Grove Township has a strong, recognizable brand that continues to have a clear and consistent voice. So you can pick up a flyer, you can go on our social media platforms, our website, anything like that, and you know that it is from Elk Grove Township. I also want residents to be able to easily find information, understand the available services that we have, and feel connected through the township, through our digital platforms, effective outreach, and well-attended community events.
Excellent. All right, well, considering your responsibilities, they seem to fit, as did Renee's, so thank you. But I'll just share with everyone, including board members, Dawn and I and our colleagues who aren't here this evening, when we do these workshops and things, I just want to mention communication is something we hear about, and engagement all the time. And what's interesting is I've been in this crazy line of work now for 40 plus years. When I started out, I was a staff member in the village of Skokie, and my first day I was going to work on budgeting and things like that. My very first day, they told me, they said, well, Greg, they said the good news is you have your own office, you have your own support person, and you also have another title. And I'm like, what? They said, you're the PIO. And I said, PI what? That stands for Public Information Officer. I wasn't trained in that arena, but so I learned communication at a very different time. Today, there's so many outlets where people get information, the generations, et cetera. I'm a boomer and I'm proud to say it. I still like paper. I mean, I've learned to adapt, but my wife and I, we have 2 girls in their 30s, and yes, they know how to do paper, but this thing is their world. So I just want to share with everyone, we hear it often, but it's changed so much, and there's so many dimensions. So as all of you probably discuss this at some point later as one of the things that's important, I just want you to say you're not alone, okay? You're not alone. So sorry for that little bit of segue, but all right, Corey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Corey Dewey. I'm the Director of Social Services here at the Township. I've been in the field, the social services field, for nearly 20 years. I worked with the homeless population and then behavioral health field, and then I was at a previous township. Now I've been the Director of Social Services here at Elk Grove Township for 5 years. I'm going to talk broadly, but kind of specifically about social services in the pantry, because those are what I direct, but I appreciate the want and need for collaboration with the county and the state. But I think in 5 to 10 years, what I would love to see is that we're nothing like the county and the state, because it hasn't been said yet, but I think there's so much pride in being the form of government that is closest to the people. When someone is calling the county or the state, no one's answering the phone. When people are reaching out to our township, you're getting a live person, and 90% of the people that are contacting us need help in some way, and they're not waiting. Right? We're getting them in, we're seeing them, we're talking to them, we know them, and we know their backstory. So I think that is incredibly important, that we keep that reputation of being accessible at all times, and also being scrappy. That's not the most eloquent term, but we can do things really quickly because of that mindset. So, for example, I don't know if you noticed, but our pantry is open right now. And that wasn't the case a month and a half ago, but we saw an extra need and said, hey, we're going to open this up on Thursday nights too. And we made it happen within less than a week. And I also hope that the board and all of us and residents and staff do appreciate the value of volunteers. I know there's been some comments at board meetings of some positions should stay paid and those types of things, which is wonderful, but we cannot do what we do scrappily, I shouldn't use that term, but efficiently, and keep those tax dollars low unless we're utilizing those volunteers as much as we can. This area, there's a plethora of talent and people that have time and willingness, so I hope that we can reach and engage those people, and I'd hope to see that continue.
Good. Great. Well, I think it's some interesting observations, and I'm just going to go up to this level for a second. Local government, and I am teaching that class again right now, is I just told my students the other night, it is the level of government that's closest to the people and their everyday lives. So I'm just going to say I endorse your perspective. Thank you. I'm going to skip over Izzy for a second, and Luann.
My name is Luann Pross. I direct the Adult and Family Counseling Program here at the Township. I have 40 years of experience as a therapist, counselor. I've been with the township for the past 4 years. I actually, I love this township. I grew up in this township. My family was in the township for 60 years. So I'm pretty familiar with kind of the culture here. And I think one of the things I would like to see going 5 years in advance would be more of a coordination of services, of mental health services and counseling services in the township for some kind of, for the township to take a leadership role in really establishing linkage agreements and interagency agreements with, for example, the village of Elk Grove and their police department that has social workers and can provide mental health counseling, with Mount Prospect, who has social workers and provide mental health counseling, with other community partners. So for the township to take that leadership role in bringing all of them together, understanding which entities are most competent in serving which populations. So then if someone calls us asking for counseling services, I could say, yes, we can provide general counseling services, but I can also connect you with this person at the Village of Mount Prospect. I can give you a name. Maybe I can conference you and do a conference call in so you can get an appointment right now. So for the township to take kind of a leadership role in how to collaborate mental health service systems that at times can seem very fragmented, especially to different populations. You have children's mental health needs, or adult mental health needs, senior mental health needs, and for us to take a leadership role in understanding that whole process and being able to link people to what they need. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 second. No problem. No problem. Okay. Thank you, Luann. Izzy.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Isabella Manzo, administrator here at Elk Grove Township. I've been with the township for 6 years and in my role for just a year. And my entire career is in local government, and I'm upset with you, Corey, and you, Greg, for taking my line. But I was originally interested in a much different level of government when I was in college at NIU. And I accidentally found township government and public administration, and I realized that the closer you are to the people, the more rewarding it is and the quicker you can make change happen. And it is a beautiful place to be, especially when you are learning and growing your career. And just even for this board, being elected into a role for the first time in a township, it is a completely different atmosphere than like a city, John, you would know, or a county or anything like that. You are the closest to the people, and the people who are coming in through those front doors are the people who either need assistance or want to assist. Whether they're coming with donations, they're coming with their time. So you are the closest to the people. Anywhere we go, we are assisting someone who lives within this township. So one thing that I would like to see in the administrator's role in general, whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I'm actually surprised none of the department heads have said this, but we are all what I like to call working directors. Rather it's Renee in and out of schools every day, rather it's Corey working the pantry so that we can open it on Thursday night with a week's notice. It costs us no additional funds. By the way, the staff flex their time, and we got some volunteers on board, and it operated perfectly. Or Mandy running every single event that is held here at the township. And Luann, we all know you hold a caseload almost as large as every single one of your staff. So we are all working directors, and that means that I'm also a working administrator. If we are short-staffed in the front office, I'm answering phones, I'm covering passports, I'm trained on our transportation software. I'm jumping into all of those roles. And although it is beautiful and it serves a purpose as you grow, which we have grown incredibly throughout the years, I think it takes away, and we all try to balance this from long-term planning. And so my goal from the strategic planning session, as well as while I have this particular job as the administrator of the township, is to create a system where we have the opportunity to step back and plan for the future. Rather it's to sit together and make those goals, rather it's working off of the strategic plan and looking at those priorities that were established by the board. But things like developing a capital improvements fund, I would love to sit down and work with my departments to make sure that we are covered from A to Z. Because I can sit down and tell you our capital improvements are the generator and the buses but what else is there in the building that maybe I'm not looking at? And what is that going to cost us, whether it's this year or next year? One thing that I do want to mention is the township just completed their huge construction program last fiscal year. We made our last financial payment to the contractor. It is very difficult to plan long-term financial goals, whether it's 3 years or 5 years, when you have an ongoing construction project that you don't know what is going to cost you in the long run. So being able to take a real look at the financial aspect of what do we truly need to operate this building, because they went from a small one to a large building with increased costs of staff, increased costs of electricity, and all kinds of things. I mean, we have a walk-in cooler in the food pantry. So it isn't until you're in the building 3 to 4 years that you start to see what those consistent costs are. My biggest goal, and when I look at this from 5 years or 10 years, I want to see those layered financial steps and truly understand the financial health of the township as it is currently and as it is going to be 3, 5, and 10 years from now. I want to be able to look that far. And I think the administrator's role is very interesting and special in the way that I am a team member with my department heads, see them all day long, communicate with them all day long. They know the people the best, but I am also consistently working with the board. And so I have the responsibility of making sure that all of those messages are coming across, whether it's the staff's messages to the board versus the board's messages to the staff. So those are the two most important things for me, is developing those relationships with the board and allowing them kind of a window into our daily life or our staff and the leadership team, and then also that financial health. It's a huge task for me.
Good. That's a good perspective.
Sorry, it was long.
I think you were good. But I appreciate your going last. Same for John, is that, there's always benefit to having that kind of overview of things. So thank you all of you. So all the ideas you just heard expressed, are on these folks' minds, and I'm sure this is not the first occasion you had to think about them, but maybe the first opportunity you had to express them and share them with each other. So we're going to build on this, but as I said, we're not going to make this an endurance test. So I think it's a great opportunity to take a break. So I have to find it.
7:17.
Thank you. 7:18. How about this? What if we come back at 7:32? I'm going to say, no, let's say 7:30, and I know it'll be 7:32 by the time we get everybody back in their seats. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back, and the next thing is we're going to share some feedback with you, and we'll go on to the next exercise.
Thank you all. We are now joined together again to continue in our strategic planning workshop.
Welcome back. Thank you very much. Hope members of the audience have had their chance to mark all their SWOCs and their goals on there. We'll be needing that in the next phase of the exercises here for the planning. Prior to our meeting this evening, part of our process is to interview staff and the administrator and the supervisor, and we also did a department head prep session where we talk with senior staff. And when we do that, then we take that information and we summarize it, and we're able to develop certain themes And some of the themes have already come through on the visioning here from the board and the staff. And some of the main topics, if you notice, include, that's okay. You're looking at, you talked about program evaluation and volunteer succession planning. And those are meeting several of the visions of what the board and staff would like to see in the future and will benefit the community over time when you do that. There's also talk about the transportation services and talking about filling gaps or providing economies of scale and working with other communities to try and better coordinate services so you're able to meet the needs of your residents more intensely. And then there was talk about affordable housing and how do you address that. That's something that you can't control as a township, unlike a municipality where you can talk about housing developments and things. But what you can do is, when you municipalities send out notices for developments that's coming through, is seek to participate or send in comments from the township on how to address types of housing or to try and meet the needs of your residents. There's been talk of mental health both for the youth as well as other older members of the community. Again, as we see in a lot of municipalities, you see communication, and that's many levels. That talks about your events, that's updating your residents' information, that's sharing taxpayers, how they can look at their tax bills and do all that. You all have also expressed the concern to make sure that your revenues don't exceed your expenses and to make sure you're obtaining the greatest economies of scale when you're looking at your budgets. Like, for example, you're talking about doing a capital improvements program. If you plug that into a long-term financial plan, you'll be able to better understand what your long-term financial needs are going to be, and if there are any changes you're going to need to do, or if there's any way you can do things like joint purchasing with surrounding communities or other townships that might be beneficial. And then you're talking about your operational effectiveness, and again, that's your program evaluations. That's looking at your internal procedures. There's great talk of AI being able to be used during these processes. And so these are all wonderful things and things to consider too, as well as when you work into looking at your goals for the future and how to incorporate all of this in to the process. And so I thank everybody for their participation in this and let the residents know that there was a great deal of thought that went into all of the responses that we received from the staff and the board and the assessor and the clerk and that. And I think that they are very thoughtful and very cognizant of the needs of the residents and want to be responsive and fiscally responsible. And I think by setting up the strategic plan, this will further those goals. Okay. Sorry. All right. Thank you. He also cranked the mic. And then when we talked through the department heads with them, we asked them what amazing thing has occurred in the last 12 to 18 months. And we have a very great list here. For example, they've created the newcomers program, and they've often opened the challenge and the bike safety course, or they've created the communications department and the great events and the community outreach that's been going on. You've seen an increase in the number of clients in social services, and you've created additional capacity for that through your external contracts with additional vendors. And you've also gone ahead and created the cardboard and pallet recycling program. These are all great things, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you weren't able to attract, retain, and recruit highly qualified and diverse staff. So that's a good thing, and I think the residents should be aware of all those accomplishments and that if they weren't in the past, this was a good way for them to find out. So now what we're going to do is move. Yes.
1 second, Dawn.
Yep.
Why don't we I'll just make a general comment too. So the interviews and the one amazing thing, we use this exercise in all our processes, and it's very enlightening because when you sit down with somebody and you ask them a question, it kind of asks someone to crystallize a lot of information and then sort things through, and it's very helpful. So you could see that Dawn reviewed the themes that came up on the board interviews. Really are a pretty good match with some of the topics already raised tonight, either in the prior comments or in our first exercises. And then the one amazing thing, question, we've been using that for a few years, and it's always kind of enlightening and uplifting for people to identify something that they would point to and say, hey, we got this done, or we created this, or we started this, or we stopped this, or whatever it might be. So I want everyone here to know, including the board and the staff, we didn't make this up. These are the things that you shared with us, but I think you'll start to see and feel this seems familiar in some way, or it seems to fit together. So I just wanted to add that, Dawn, as a wrap-up comment. Do you want to talk about the next exercise?
I can do that.
Okay.
All right, we're moving on to the next part of our, oh, you've got the groups, yes.
Did some pre-work. How about I do this? Before Dawn does that, in order to save time, we did some groups. So listen up, your name will be called, and you'll be in a group, and so maybe it's a good idea to raise your hands. So in group 1, John Scarletta, Sue Ellen. God, I did it again. Okay, everyone take your alphabet, take the R's out of it, please. Scarletta, Sue Ellen, Saturn, and Rob, and Luann. You're going to be, well, look at that. You're going to be group 1. In 2, we have Monica, and Phil, and Izzy, and Corey. All right, 2s? Got it? Okay. And 3s, Jason? Okay, good guess.
Yeah.
Process of elimination, right? Okay. All right, so it's Jason, Connie, Renee, and Ann. Thank you. All right, Dawn, sorry about that.
That's okay. All right, so this next exercise, what we're going to be doing is breaking into your groups. And what we're asking you to do is come up with the group name, which is always interesting to see what happens with that. But then what you're going to be doing is filling in these blanks. And what you're kind of doing is working into the next exercise is the SWOC. But right now, we're asking you to do a little talking about what you think your obstacles and challenges and opportunities are, and to fill in these blanks. And then what we'll have you do is have one person as a recorder, and then when you come out, report out what the consensus was for the group for the responses to this exercise. So let's say group 1, you can say, we're simply the best would be the name, and we want to do a program analysis, but staff time is limited due to A, B, and C. Or if it weren't for the state of Illinois, we would be able to do blah, 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 and move on from there. So that's...
Yeah, it's a kind of, we say, it's a free interpretation exercise. We're often asked, once you get in your groups, how should we tackle this? There's 2 techniques. It's kind of like putting together a piece of furniture from IKEA. You can either put all the parts and just dump it out, right, and go for it, or in my house, if it's my dear wife, she's going to lay every piece out. She's going to get the instructions, and she's going to make sure there were 8 screws when it says there's 8 screws, all these kind of things. So how does that apply to this? I think a couple techniques. One, you can just sit down and start talking and sharing ideas. That's probably what we see most commonly. But sometimes some groups say, hey, everybody sit down for 3 minutes, nobody talk, fill in a blank, and then we'll share each other's ideas. But this is a timed exercise. So
27 minutes.
That's right. We will come and we're going to check on you. But in that allotted time, we are going to give you a flip chart pad, a marker.
Greg.
And it's up to you. Yes.
Do you care which stations, what group gets? And then also, there are already flip charts, markers, notepads, and pens at each station.
Excellent. So I think it's a good idea. Why don't we go in reverse order? Group 3, there's 3 choices. Izzy, you want to tell us which?
Yes,
locations?
there's group 3. Why don't you go out to the corridor?
Jason,
Group 2 will stay in here. And then, and then group 1, you guys want to be in the executive conference room? Sounds great.
Okay. All right. So you have 27 minutes. Your flip chart and markers are in there, and what you need to do is fill in one common group set of answers for these questions, name yourself, and then you're going to have to report out. So also select someone to be your reporter.
And make sure it's on the board so that we can take pictures of it, because we'll transcribe all of this, and this will be included in the back of the final report.
All right. We're not going to start the clock
No,
until
I have
you get
copies
all
of that.
settled. So we'll give you 2 minutes to get settled, and then we'll start 27 minutes. All right. So surrender or lead is the exercise you just participated in. I've been using that exercise since I gotta think, 1990s, sometime in the 1990s, and all of our teams use it because it tends to work. So thank you all for your time, and the conversation is as important as what's on the chart. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the big reveal, all right? And we've taken all your flip chart pads, we've turned them over, and I'm not sure which one is which, so since Dawn has one in her hand, I'm going to have her put it up on the easel. And does anyone recognize that handwriting? Yes. Okay, who's going to be your spokesperson? John. All right, if you wouldn't mind coming on over and share the results with the rest of the group.
Give him the mic.
Oh, yeah, sorry, no, here we go. I got one for you. Thank you for the reminder.
All right, so this is working, right? All right, so in surrender or lead, the first one is, we
what was the
are
name?
the Long Rangers.
Oh, get it.
Right.
Got it. Like it.
So we want to have monthly interdepartmental meetings to discuss residents who may need other services from different departments, but we need to develop a formal monthly structured meeting program.
Okay.
All right.
All right, good.
Number 2, the 2 most important things to focus on are residents' needs and interdepartmental communications, because we should provide a more holistic approach.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
3, if it weren't for individual priorities of other taxing bodies, we would have a more collaborative approach to serve our common residents.
Okay.
We need to finally have a capital improvement program.
Okay.
And strategic planning will have the biggest impact on the township in the coming 2 to 3 years.
Very good. So those of you that were on the Long Rangers, raise your hand quick so we can all say thank you. Thank you. Nice job. All right. I know you're trying to prevent feedback, so yell at me if I get too close. All right. So Dawn just flipped over another one. Prepare for impact. Who's the spokesperson? Okay, Mandy. I'll give you the. There you go. Thanks.
Okay, I just want to say it's not a negative connotation, it's just a common theme throughout our talking points. So the first one is we want to increase our impact but maintain fiscal responsibility.
Okay.
The two most important things to focus on are awareness and communication and outreach because it maximizes our impact in the community.
Okay.
If it weren't for our centralized location and physical presence in the community, we would struggle to meet the needs of our residents. We need to finally coordinate and oversee shared services with other local municipalities. And 5 was economy. Will have the biggest impact on the township in the coming 2 to 3 years.
They ran out of space.
We agreed with that, too.
We forgot about
Good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so prepare for impact. You want to just raise your hands quick so we can all remember? This is the group over here, right? Thank you. All right. Last but not least. Whoop.
Sorry.
Just remember, everything in here is low bid. Okay?
There we go.
That's not for me. John Glenn is the one who came up with that line, and I still
We
think of
need
it.
that one.
Oh, this is the one we need?
That's the one we need.
Want me to hold it?
No.
Okay.
All right, you're up, Phil.
Let's get it. See if we can get it to stand up.
That's all right.
There we go.
Just leave it.
All right. Who's the spokesperson for this? All right.
There you go.
Team name is the Mighty Elks.
Real
original with the Elks. All right, so first thing is we want to build our reserves, but operational costs are high and sometimes unexpected. 2, the most important things to focus on are financial responsibility and efficiency, stretching the dollar, because we recognize that funds are finite. 3, if it weren't for limited money and staff time, we would expand the essential services and all focuses of the board. 4, we need to finally be known to 100% of the residents about what we do and the fact that we exist. 5, communication, outreach, board engagement in the community will have the greatest impact on the township in the coming 3 to 5 years.
Very good. All right. For the original Elks, get it? Elk Grove Township, and all makes sense. All right. So those of you that were in that group, I know it's the middle of the table, but raise your hand so we can give you appropriate recognition. Oh, does not want to stay up. Okay. So what did you hear from one another? Either in your own group or from the other groups? What do you notice here? Some of the things that were brought up.
Fiscal responsibility.
Okay. Fiscal responsibility came up.
Recognition, community.
Okay. Communication, community.
I think there was a real interesting difference between what the elected officials were saying versus what the staff were saying.
Okay.
Elected officials have more experience knocking on the doors and getting that feedback, but staff obviously has much more experience with the day-to-day. Yeah.
You're right. So we got 2 different perspectives, and that's why we like to get a mix on the teams and things. Good? What else did you hear from one another?
I think what we heard from each other was a lot of what we heard from the rest of the group, but obviously you had to pick one thing every time.
Right, right.
But it was great to hear a lot of the same common themes. So good exercise. I'm glad we all had something different.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would say, again, as you heard each group and you listen, you think about your own conversations, do you have a sense that this all makes sense? Does it sound like it's familiar and it fits to some regard? Yeah.
I just want to say we did have monthly interdepartmental meetings that were structured. They used to be called TIE, remember? Bring those back. Who's going to bring those?
Yeah.
I'll bring them back.
Well,
Perfect, I'll be there.
Actually, in our meeting, we talked about how you had those, and because there was so much change with the administrator, with the supervisor.
I used to not be on those meetings.
All right.
They didn't include me.
I hear you. So that's something that we're going to establish again.
What does TIE stand for?
Township Interdepartmental.
No, Township Information Exchange. Just came up with it when you said township. Okay, all right, thank you.
What would government be without a good acronym, right? I mean, but it fits. It fits. I'll say, from what I heard, and we get to do this exercise with a lot of groups, I see the commonalities. Some of the topics may not have come up on the same question, but the same topic is in there. So, but as I said earlier, it's the conversation that's as valuable as the answers. But now, as Dawn kind of mentioned, you're leaning into kind of actually both of the last two parts of the evening. One is to do the SWOC analysis, and then to have you go back to your groups and start to develop goals. But you kind of were asked to do both here. You had to say, well, if it weren't for this, we would do this. And so that kind of leans into both some kind of an environmental challenge, and then the other thing is, what do you want to get done? So that's where we're at this point. So I'm going to ask the group, rather than take a break, if you need to step up and use the restroom or grab something, go ahead. But if it's with your permission, can we move into the next exercise? Yes. So, okay. But I do want you to get up out of your chair, even though you just were. I'm going to ask the group, the board and the staff up here, if you might not get up and then just walk along the wall and look at the comments and things that people shared on the SWOC sheets over there. If you want to snap a picture of them, that's totally fine too, because we may want to refer to them later. But before we do shout out, that'll give Dawn and I time to make up some charts up here. You get a chance to look at what's there, snap a photo if you want, and then come back. Then you have the benefit of what people shared. So let's take 3 minutes and 51 seconds to do that. All right. All right, everybody. Let's do this as we did before, but I think the first pad that was up here was this to the Long Rangers. So can we have the spokesperson come and read out the goals that you developed, and I'm going to sit over here and... different spokesperson, be entertained. Listen.
You're up, Ben. You did a good job.
Oh.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
At least you can spell.
All right, so we have 6 short-term goals. So the tie, which we talked about, the interdepartmental meeting, will start in May after the budget season, after the budget's approved and everything. And then what we want to do is we want to have a coordination of community outreach, and that's going to happen at the monthly interdepartmental meetings. We also want to develop a capital assessment, which is going to be completed by the year end. And under our long-term goals is the capital improvement program. Okay. Number 4, evaluate and identify needed website enhancements.
Good.
Adding ADA compliance with multi-language plugins, which we have as a short-term goal to identify a lot of this stuff, but long-term is implementing, because we're not sure of really the capacity of the website. And then identify and apply for governmental grants. That's going to happen in the spring. And then in the fall, begin the succession planning. And then for our long-term goals, we need to have an internal space assessment, because that's been brought up several times tonight. So what we want to do is do something internal to better understand our space and what the opportunities are that exist. We talked about the capital improvement program, and we talked about the website, specifically just understanding what it is that we need.
Okay, can I, one clarification. So John and the rest of the group, these bottom 3, I mean, internal space assessment, that one's new.
Right.
The other 2, is that implementation, or is it follow
so
through?
The website one is really follow through.
Okay.
First, we got to. There's simple ones where, if we're doing like a multi-language plugin, those should be relatively simple. The ADA compliance part, that's something that we need to better understand. Like, as a group, we're sitting in there and we're talking about it, but we can't simplify everything because we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know how quickly that can happen. And then we really don't understand, is it something that we can enhance our website currently to make the back end more friendly?
Or rebuild.
Or do we have to redo an entire website? And, and that scares us because it's money.
Money.
And so we kind of started out of identifying everything,
Right.
but then doing some of the improvements long term.
Makes sense.
All right?
Yep.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks
All right.
for having us.
Nice job. All right, next group 3. Prepare for impact.
Go, Jason.
Okay, so we've got some things that have been talked about throughout the evening. Identify sources of non-tax revenue, including grants, sponsorships, et cetera, to help us bridge some of the cost issues that we have. Full review of shared services with local entities. So in the short term, kind of sorting out the local service environment so we can understand what residents do and don't have access to through both us and through all the other levels of government. And these will all make more sense when we talk about the long-term goals.
Okay.
Establish mental health board that complements our services. So we understand that there's a movement to have a referendum for a mental health board. If that gets passed, this board is then responsible for implementing that. And we want to do it in a way that's thoughtful and complements and enhances the services that we're already offering township residents, both through the grants that we give to local agencies and also the services that we're delivering here through the township. And then expand transportation services to find ways to fill gaps for people that don't meet the eligibility criteria for existing services.
Good. Good.
Long term, we want to eliminate the wait list for adult and family counseling and mental health services. And that's going to be through collaboration. And one of the things that Luann mentioned earlier tonight is just serving as a coordinating body to help people get where they need to go efficiently. Enhance facility and capacity, whether that's through like the site study that John was just talking about, the office space study, and or satellite offices, to make sure that we're connecting to people that can't access this site. All residents have physical access to township services, so that kind of goes with this facility capacity thing. And then develop a process for reserving funds for the future. So whenever there's an unanticipated cost or an unanticipated opportunity, when we're locked into our budget, we sometimes lack the opportunity to go out and address a need. Another one that came up even after we talked over here is making sure that we have accessibility for people with all sorts of, whether it's hearing or visual disabilities, including through phone services and language apps, so that when people call in, that they can access our services consistently and easily. So Renee, did you want to add anything else about that? Did I hit that right? It's
perfect.
Okay.
All right, nice job. There you go.
Ours is like so brief. Well, we had a problem that we were solving.
All right. The Mighty Elks came up with 3 short-term goals. The first one is 100% awareness within the community. Yeah, I mean, you think everyone above the age of 8 knows what village they're in. They all know what state they're in. Everyone should know what township they're in.
Got it.
At the bare minimum, just know what township they're in, and then maybe we can
Start
teach
there.
you more about the programs that we offer and the wonderful staff we have. 2, develop and perfect processes. We were talking about if something were to happen, we contingency plans and creating, what was the phrase used?
Get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Hit by a bus binders. Yeah, but we were basically talking about how we've grown super, super fast. And so sometimes we just have to pivot and do things to get them done. It's about sitting down and making sure we have a process for each program, for each situation.
Yeah, and so someone could come in, read the process, and implement.
Got it.
And 3 is a 708 board. This is by far the one we spent the most time talking about. That is definitely something that the referendum's going around, and that's something that we're going to have to address, and how that tax levy is not only going to affect the services, that's a new service that we would offer, but also how that levy would affect our budget going forward.
Thank you. Good job.
Long-term goals. The first one is to maintain fiscal responsibility. I forgot a D. 2 is to expand transportation services. And so expand on existing transportation services. And 3 is to improve staff retention rates. And this was definitely something that the electeds didn't have much insight on. This definitely came from the staff. We have got to address the turnover rates. Yeah.
All right. I have one follow-up question. Don't clap yet. On the transportation services, is that similar to the one the other group had on transportation?
Yes.
I mean, okay, so it's roughly in the same family, right? Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think it might be that one.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, bottom.
Expand transportation, that's word for word.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You guys were, no. All right, now we can clap. Thank you. All right, great job, everybody. All right, well, there's some similarities, the fiscal responsibility, et cetera, the transportation one I just asked about, facilities, et cetera, came up. So you can see that there's some overlap here and some meshing of things, but based on the conversation that we've had all night, you know, these to me seem to make sense and they fit. What's more important than what it means to Dawn and I is what it means to all of you. At the beginning of the evening, I mentioned there's this ranking exercise. We're not going to do it here. We're not going to do it tonight. But I do want to ask you to do one more thing as a group. And it won't take that long. You'll get the hang of it real quick. But I want you as a group to help identify whether these goals are complex or routine. So in order to do that, we're going to read each goal off. And then as a group, I want you to shout out whether you think it's complex or routine. And you say, Greg, that's great, but you have to give me a definition. So I will. The definition or decision rule for a complex goal, our complex goals are goals that require A, extraordinary resources, B, involve another unit of government, C, involve a private entity, D, involve some technical expertise that you don't have. Architects, engineers, bond counsel, or it requires extraordinary capital, either political capital or dollar capital, right? Like you have to go to referendum or, you know, you have to raise money or you want to issue some bonds or something like that, okay? That's complex. Routine, as I mentioned earlier tonight, doesn't mean easy, but it means something that you could do generally or most of it on your own. You might need a little extra help, you might need some technical expertise, but you could do it on your own. So what we're going to do, we're going to read these back to you out loud, and as a group, I want you to shout out whether you think it's complex or routine. First couple are going to be a little slow, and you'll get the hang of it, and you'll pick up. One last thing, facilitator's wild card. If there's a tie, complex or routine, it's complex. Okay? So if enough of you think it's complex, guess what? It's complex. All right. So, Dawn, do you want to? I'll do it if you don't mind. You want to read them back? Oh no. Here, how about one of us does the whole thing?
Yep.
Okay. Short-term goals. This is from Group 3, the Mighty Elks. Number 1, 100% awareness of the township.
Routine.
Good. Develop and perfect processes.
Routine.
The 708 board.
Complex.
Excellent. You're good students. Very nice. All right, long term. Maintain fiscal responsibility.
Complex. Get out of here.
I don't know.
Complex. There's a lot of ins and outs in a budget, baby.
And you have to
But is it
rely
all
on
low?
the
But
government and some
But can you do it here?
Do we need
With
another?
minor external assistance?
I got a late property tax disbursement just
So
this
you
last.
just based
it's-
on the county?
I am relying on other people for the money.
Sure, sure.
Complex, baby.
All right. Good. Expand transportation services.
Routine.
I don't know.
I mean, we could. I mean,
It's expensive.
It's complex. Can't agree.
Okay.
Multiple
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
I'm going to lean with the complex
Yeah, we
group.
just
All right, last one. Improve staff retention rates.
Okay, I want to clarify that one though. Because we're talking about like not department head level, like not high level staff. This is, we only really get turnover, I'm sorry, I was looking for the word, in like a lower level entry positions, which is very difficult, I think, for everybody to retain because people learn and people move on to a new role. Okay, sorry, just
Yeah.
extra.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's easy, but I think it's, yeah, you can work it. Okay, routine. Great. Let me go over here. All right, this is prepare for impact. 1, identify sources of non-tax revenue, grants, sponsorships, et cetera.
Routine. Well, you're just looking for them.
Okay, full review of shared services with local entities.
Complex.
Yep, it involves other units of government. Establish mental health board that complements our, we already did it over here. It's complex. Expand transportation services.
Complex.
Okay, good, you got the hang of it. Oops.
Routine.
Eliminate wait lists for the,
Adult and family counseling.
thank you.
Complex.
Okay. Enhance facility capacity, or maybe look at satellite offices.
Complex.
Complex.
Gotta be complex.
Yeah. All residents would have physical access to township services.
Routine.
Complex.
What is that? Wait, what does that mean again?
Is this physical?
That means that people could get to meet with a person face to face about what they need.
Complex.
So it does. Transportation's involved.
Okay.
Oh, so like transportation barriers.
Transportation
Okay.
barriers.
I think complex.
Gotcha.
And facilities,
Gotcha.
depending, so you're talking a lot of things.
Develop a process for reserving funds for the future.
Routine.
Routine.
I think, yeah, I would agree. Okay, we have one more?
Yep.
Oh, hold on. Don't want to lose all this good work. Okay, from the Long Rangers, interdepartmental meeting establish.
Routine.
Good. Educate the community, an education community outreach program.
Routine.
Develop a capital assessment, complete by year end.
That's complex.
If it involves like an architecture
Outside.
firm or something,
We need a lot of outside
Consultation.
vendors and everything.
yeah.
I'm rolling with it.
Evaluate and identify needed website enhancements, the ADA compliance, plugins.
Complex.
Complex.
Yeah. I'll just tell you, at the university, we have a whole team working on just that. And it's not that they're just doing it, I got people in our team working on it. It's a job. Identify and apply for government grants. Now, applying for government grants, not necessarily getting them.
So that
Still
would be
complex.
sure.
So you're going to have to follow up.
It's pretty complex.
Okay,
Complex.
good.
The process itself is complex.
All right, undertake succession planning.
Routine.
Routine.
Okay. Long term, do an internal space assessment. We already did that one. Complex.
What? No, that's just
Well,
like
that-
looking our
that's-
space, right?
It's internal for now.
Oh, this is
So it's
not an architect?
No.
No, that's
Just better utilize the space we currently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's, yes.
Sorry. Implement the capital improvements identified.
Complex.
Complex.
Okay. And then implement the website improvements.
Complex.
Complex.
Okay. You did it.
All right.
Yay. Not 10 o'clock yet, John. Thank you.
I just
I'm
don't want any
kidding.
overtime.
I know.
Very fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
All right. You did it. All this, these are your ideas. These are the ideas of your stakeholders. All the words you exchanged, all the conversation you had tonight. It all built to a point to say, okay, what are we going to work on? And where do we want to go? And how do we want to get there? So there's a lot of steps yet to go. But tonight, you've achieved what we hoped you would do. And I hope tonight, if you leave a little bit tired and your mind spins a little bit when you hit the pillow, that's good, because that's on purpose. So here's what we're going to do. As we mentioned earlier, we're going to look at these goals. We're going to clean them up a little bit. You can see there are a couple that were almost identical. In fact, one was identical. What we're going to do is we're going to share those. We'll have John and probably Izzy be an extra set of eyes. Once we get the goal wording cleaned up, we will develop a survey instrument for you. And I want to draw one last picture, and then class will be dismissed. So we have a visual up there, but I'm so used to doing it here. So here's the goal. Right now, the goals live in this matrix. Short term, long term, and they're either complex or routine. So each goal right now lives in one of these 4 quadrants, right? What we're going to ask you to do in the ranking is you're going to rank only the goals within each quadrant. And this goes back to my good friend Jerry Gabers, who Jerry said, the real world is not one-dimensional, you know. And he said, it's possible to have, so this way you're going to have 4 number 1 goals. You're going to have a number 1 short-term goal, complex, number 1 short-term routine, and so on and so forth. But this way, you know, this is kind of an apples-to-apples thing, and it'll just help. It helps organize the world, it helps staff, and it helps you to do tracking. Last comment I'm going to make. That doesn't mean for everybody, if a goal that came up tonight from your group, it ends up getting ranked down here. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen very few bad ideas. And I mean that sincerely. But I've seen ideas that are more important or more timely than others. And speaking of that, I won't mention the community, but one community I've worked with a few times, they had building a new metro station was on here. And it ended up, because the council board, whatever, they were like, oh yeah, well, I mean, it's something we want to do, but it's not up here toward the top. Oh, then Metro said, we want to help you build a new station. Guess where that goal went? Yeah, so we're not trying to imply this can't change, but this helps with that scarce resource piece. What are we going to work on first, second, and third? So that's where we're headed. That's the end of my speech. On behalf of Dawn and me and the rest of the team that's not here, thank you. And I'm going to turn it back to the supervisor.
John Scaletta. So I want to start out by thanking the stakeholders that have made it all the way through to the end, and all of those that were here earlier this evening. We're grateful for your attendance and grateful for your participation. I want to thank the board and all the staff that participated in this strategic workshop. The budget is the most important thing that we do every year, hands down, but this comes in pretty close to second. And so everybody was very, very thoughtful. Everyone was very, very professional. I have questions on some of the last items that we saw, but I think that everybody came with their A game. And I'm grateful for your time, I'm grateful for your knowledge, and I'm grateful for your passion. And with that, I would ask if someone would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
All right.
Trustee Weinkoop, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Trustee Lujai seconds.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
We also thank Dawn and Greg. We also thank Dawn and Greg for sticking with us through the whole night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My store, being paid.
Yeah.